against the rules.
My name is Elizabeth Ohene. I'm a former Minister of State and a former newspaper and radio journalist. You are most welcome to Starr Chat with Bolare.
Thank you very much. And you've done it so well. I mean, you're taking us back to your days of the BBC. And I know you're reminiscing. You're walking down memory lane. Today, the 12th of November 2014. And we're glad to have you right here on Starr FM on Starr Chat. Good evening, Madam Elizabeth Ohene.
Good evening, boy.
And you look so well.
Well, thank you.
I'm just, thinking about it that next year, 24th January exactly, you'll be 70 years.
Yep, that's right.
Wow. What keeps you going? I mean, great life, you look good. You pass easily for like a 21-year-old.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You look well.
Try another one.
It's not a pickup line, and I mean it about.
Try another one.
What keeps you going? What's the secret, madam? What is it that people need to know? I mean, at 70 or inching to 70, and you're hale, you're hearty, you're able, you look so well.
Well, many people of 70 that I know are hale and hearty. So there's absolutely nothing special about
really?
it.
What's so special? I mean, do you exercise? Do you watch your diet? What is it?
Nothing really special.
Okay.
I don't think that I'm in the category of people who are exercising every day. No. If I get the opportunity, I walk.
Okay.
But nothing special.
Wow.
No.
Wow. You're blessed.
Yes,
blessed.
I am. Maybe that's how I should put it.
Exactly. You're blessed. I mean, you've been there. You've gone through the mail. And for me, looking at your profile from a reporter, a staff writer, a columnist, lead writer, acting editor of the Daily Graphic and Mirror, who would love to hear your story. And that's why we're celebrating you this evening right here on Starr FM. And to also get to know you better. And what next? But in all of this, I say good evening once again, and you're most welcome. Tell us, what have you been up to since you left government, Madam Ohene?
Oh, I'm first of all trying to, for the people with whom I live in my house, to get to see a bit of me, because I came back to Ghana in 2000 and almost straight away into government. And you just, you get up in the morning and you are out, and you come back late at night, and you away weekends, and you don't really get the opportunity to be a wife. You don't get the opportunity to be a housekeeper. You don't get the opportunity to be whatever in the house or do anything at all. So I've spent time trying to be part of that. But I've kept busy. I still do stuff for the BBC as and when. I'm now a grandmother, so I go off once in a while to do grandmother duties.
You enjoyed that, I can tell.
Oh, yes, I do.
Great.
I do.
So, right, let's get to meet you. Tell us about yourself. We'll talk about the BBC career and how, actually placed Ghana there. We're all happy, getting to, hear you and also produce, Focus on Africa program. But walk us through it. Tell us about yourself and growing up.
Oh.
Where were you born?
Where?
Yes.
Or when?
Where?
Okay. I was born, I still think it's a village, but they don't agree. It's the people. I was born in a village, a town, whatever you call it, called Abutia. It's in the Volta region. It's quite near Ho. To the late Mr. and Mrs. Ohene, who were teachers. My dad, at the time, was teaching in, I think, a teacher training college. And then later on, I was like 6 years old when he went off to university. And I grew up. I stayed with them till 5, and then I was sent to the village. And I stayed with my grandmother from age 5 to 9, that is primary 1 to the middle of primary 5.
Okay.
In the village, that's where I went to school. Abutia. That's where I went to school, primary 1 to 5. That's where I learned to do the things that every normal Ghanaian child or girl would do: sweep, learn to cook, learn to do the things my grandmother. I'll go to the farm with my grandmother, go and fetch water, the normal things, pound fufu and those things. Then when my father came back from the university and he started teaching at Maoli School, so I went off and joined them and stayed with them. I'm the first of, currently there are 6 of us, children. There used to be, my parents had 8 children, 2 passed, but
Okay.
I'm the first.
You're the
of
first.
6. So I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters.
Right.
What else did I do? I went to Maoli School eventually. I
really want us to, stay with Maoli School. But before that, maybe let's also backtrack a little bit. Living with your grandmother, was it any special? Were you given, some special treats as that favorite grandchild? How was it like growing up with her?
She was a remarkable woman. This is a woman who, my grandmother, you ought to know this about her. She had 3 sets of twins, 3 different sets. My parents, my mother was the first. She was a female and male. They were followed by 2 females, and they were followed by 2 males.
Wow.
But then her husband died very early. Her husband died when the earliest child was about, I think, 14 or something, or 15. So my grandmother was left with how many children all by herself. But by the time I came to live with her, her kids, I think the last one was like 17 or something. So she'd seen the worst of it already. But she was farming, and she was a tough woman. She had to be to survive, and she did.
And she believed in education. At the time,
Well, it's not. My mom went to school, so it's not like
exactly.
My mom went to school. My dad went to school, so it wasn't a big deal.
That's right.
At all. And she was a remarkable woman, tough woman, and she, even though she had to bring up children by herself. My memory of her was that nobody ever took her for granted.
Wow.
And she was, she would go to the farm with her on Saturdays. She was very protective with me, extremely protective.
Okay. Even
though she would insist I do the right thing, but nobody, could even teach us. If you could punish me, yes, but you had to be sure that I'd done something. She wasn't going to put up with simply beating me because you were in the mood to do that.
She would put up a good fight, and I can tell that maybe that's where you get your toughness from. Many said, "Oh, Elizabeth Ohene is tough." She say it as it is, without fear or favor. From your mom or your grandmom, or from where?
Oh, I don't know if I got it probably from my grandmother.
Okay.
Yeah, she was a tough woman. She had to be to survive.
Wow. Let's stay with Maoli School. So you got into Maoli School which year? You remember exactly? And let's talk about days in Form 1.
Nothing spectacular.
No homos night?
Oh, there was. Every school, you had the first years, and the prefects came in for 1 week before. This was, you were on campus for 1 week with the prefects. So they could teach you what the school was like, the school culture, show you what they do and everything. But then you don't forget that I had been living on campus. I was a child of a
master of the school, yeah.
A master of the school.
Right.
So I knew it wasn't new to me.
Okay.
So in a way, I had an advantage over my colleagues that had come. But it was interesting meeting with new people, and you'd gone into boarding school. I had never been in boarding school before, so that was interesting. But the school at the time, it was not a particularly. The school had only started in 1950, I think. Yeah, 1950. And I, was it 50 or 51? Anyway, I entered in 1958. And we were the first group of girls that year were in the 4th year. So there weren't many girls. Yeah, and those days anyway, there was only 2 streams, A and B. There would be 1A and B, 2A and B, 3A, all that. So it was not a very, now when you think about it, it was not a very particularly big school. I think all in all, maybe about 300.
Really, back then? When was the last time you visited Mauli School? You've been there quite recently or not?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. Because Mauli School is in Ho. And I have to go to Ho often because Abutia is near Ho.
Okay. So and you visit them and say, well, I know you have some memories, but let's stay, of course, still in Mauli School, your school anthem, and we'll get into some school activities if you are very active in that.
Oh, what do you mean school activities?
Well, were you into any sporting discipline? Were you actually active in maybe the debating the club or society? What were you taking part in back in school?
Everything to do with talking. Everything to do with
it won't come as a surprise to me, yeah.
Debating society and stuff like that. I'm afraid my sporting activities came to an abrupt, dramatic end by the time I was in Form 2, getting to Form 3, when I suddenly, puberty I just erupted. And 1 minute I started needing to wear a bra. The next minute, I was bursting out of everything, and you couldn't, falling all over the place, so you couldn't run anymore.
Did that come as a rude shock or awakening for you? How do you receive that?
Well, it was quite dramatic. It was, the 1 minute you are a slim little girl with no breasts, the next minute, and so you need to wear a bra, and you get a bra, and the next minute you are 38 CCC or whatever it was called. So
your breasts get you out of sports?
Of course.
Well, but you can just put them well and still.
No.
Some women are doing it, or they did it, so why not you?
My dear, you take a good look at all females who play any sport, and tell me which one of them are heavy-chested. Not many.
Well endowed, not many.
It's just not possible. The two things just don't go. You can't run.
Okay.
You can't jump. You can't throw things. It's just
you can play tennis like Serena Williams.
No, you can't. Even that. No, seriously, you can't. She's not heavy-chested.
But she's okay.
She's not. I'm talking about extraordinary.
Extraordinary. Okay, I get you. So that's what kept you out of sports.
Well, I played table tennis. know. I'm not saying that I wasn't like a couch potato or anything like that. But all I'm saying is that if you are 14 and 15 and suddenly you are having to deal with your body, and your body starts outgrowing you in a way, you are not going to become the champion.
That will limit you in a way.
100 meters race. No, that's not going to happen.
Exactly. Any nickname back then at Mauli School? They used to call you? Yeah. Oh.
I don't know, but if you are in school, well, my father was there in the first year. Then after the first year, there were political things, and he and 4 other teachers of the school were, how can I put this? They were expelled. They were, I don't know if the word is expelled. It was announced on the radio that they couldn't work in the Volta region anymore.
Really?
Yeah. 1958, end of 1958. So they had to.
And it was political.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my parents left, and he ended up then in Abuakwa State College, JB. So I stayed on in Mauli School. and my parents. So then now, instead of being a campus child, I had to be going to JB on vacation and coming home and stuff like that. So I stopped being a camp, because otherwise if your father is a member of the staff, you can get yourself into all kinds of problems. But that went. But as it happened, he came back to Mauli School when I was in Upper 6. So he was there for Form 1 and then Upper 6. Then he came back.
Yes. And we're still on a nickname. And that's how
I don't really remember that I had any particular nickname in school. Maybe because I just don't know why.
Really? They didn't give you one, you didn't earn one, you were just Elizabeth Ohene, all through and through. You sure?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what.
No, there's one somewhere.
No. Okay, my father was S.K. Ohene. So he used to sign his name S.K.O.
Oh.
So that I think the students used to call him Sco. So maybe they will call me Scovy.
Scovy meaning what? The daughter or the child of Sco.
So it's not much of a nickname, is it?
Elizabeth Ohene, Scovy. So you're cool with Scovy?
No, they wouldn't call it me Elizabeth Ohene.
Yes, Scovy. Yes,
Scovy.
Scovy, and you're cool.
Yeah, it's not much of a nickname, is it?
Well, it is.
No.
It's a big deal. Scovy. How do you react to that? Or you okay with that?
It didn't annoy me. It didn't make me. I couldn't see the point of it.
Okay.
Really,
Okay.
because I've always thought that if the most you can think of about describing me is being the child of my father,
then nothing special.
No.
I get you. So from there you moved on to the University of Ghana. That was in 1964.
Yeah.
And it's not for nothing that you graduated with, BN in English. You speak very well, your diction, you choose your words right, and
that has nothing. That has absolutely nothing to do with graduating in English.
Really?
I don't think my diction has improved any more
after reading the course
before I went to the university.
You didn't have any impact?
I think I've always spoken like, before I went to the university I spoke like this, I think.
That's humbling. That's you being modest, but I know that's how you want to approach it. But let's talk about life at the University of Ghana. Entered in 1964. Now certainly is much different. What was it like, life on campus? Which hall were you in? Volta Hall. So your motto, Akoko Bre So Nyim Adichin.
I don't remember that at all. It must have been one of those things that came up after I left.
After you left?
I don't remember it.
Wow. But how was Volta, hall like? Now you have
You had a room to yourself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now you have 4 people in a room and there's a room to yourself.
Yeah.
I'd like to know more back in the day.
A room to yourself and a balcony to yourself.
Which block was this?
K block.
Okay. I've swum in the Volta Lake, so I know how it is like. So Volta.
Good on you. Good on you.
Back then at University of Ghana, and then you moved on. But really, we want to talk about life as a media person. You started off as a reporter, and for me, that's revealing. Moved on to become a staff writer, a columnist. Walk us through to becoming the editor of the Daily Graphic and Mirror.
Oh, when I graduated, I wasn't quite sure in my head that what I wanted to do was journalism.
Okay.
I think I knew I was always going to do something to do. I thought I wanted to be a writer. Now, what kind of a writer, I'm not sure. But I think the application I wrote really was to GBC.
Okay.
But before I could go for the GBC interview, some friends of mine told me that the Graphic was recruiting. So I took an application and I was called for an interview, and they gave me a job before the GBC called me for an interview. So I went to the Graphic. Now, before then, I think in my first year, I had done a holiday job with, at the time, I think it was called Guinea Press, Ghanaian Times, and I'd done a holiday job there. And I found that I had enjoyed being a reporter. So I came to the Graphic, and I'm a reporter, and it was fine.
Fine.
It was a bit, you got in those days, any journalist worth his salt was supposed to be a great smoker. You had to smoke a cigarette.
Oh, so you did that?
Yeah. No, I didn't. But
the
the newsroom was full of
smokers.
Smoke.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the newsroom?
Every newsroom.
Oh.
Not just in the Graphic, everywhere in the world.
They smoke in the newsroom. I mean, right there. They won't go out, but right there in the newsroom.
Nope. Every newsroom was full of smoke. That was even.
Why? Do you bother to find out why?
No, because all journalists smoked. And it was the normal thing. You smoked in all offices. It wasn't just newsroom. In all offices, in homes, and people smoked. So the newsroom, I remember, was full of smoke all the time, and it was full of smoke, and people were swearing all the time and talking a kind of language that would make
foul language in the newsroom.
Yeah, that was how newsrooms were.
And you survived that. You didn't smoke. I mean, were there a lot of women back there also into journalism?
There were no women.
No women? You blazed the trail.
Oh, no, in fact, they told me that I wouldn't last. Because they'll have one woman, they'll have two women, and they would leave. And well, I don't like people telling me things like that. Anyway, so I set about learning to be a reporter, and I just decided if I learned to be a damn good reporter, then that was it. So I learned to be a damn good reporter.
I love the way you put it, and you're very confident. A damn good reporter.
Oh, yeah.
We're activating the WhatsApp line. If you're out there, you can join us with your messages. 0262-518-268. It's getting into the overdrive. I'm getting the interesting. We're warming up as we go along, and I love the smile on your face. Madam Elizabeth Ohene is our guest, former Minister of State, and yes, been with the BBC as a senior producer, of course, on World Service and British domestic radio. I mean, she's seen it all, done it all, right from Ghana and also going out there abroad, of course, to the BBC. We'll ask you, did you ever imagine working outside your home country? Not to mention the BBC, Madam Ohene.
No. I had never. No, it isn't just that I had never thought about working outside. When at the time I was doing towards the end of the Graphic, I mean, like Reuters and such had asked me to report for them from here. But I had never thought about living outside Ghana, period. It wasn't something. Why should I? I mean, I would go outside Ghana, I would go study, come back. That was it. This was where I lived. This was what I liked. And I wanted to make the best out of this place, and that was it. I had never thought about going to live outside Ghana.
Was the salary good? Were you being paid good, or you just loved your country that I want to make it here?
Well, let me tell you something. There's nothing special about that. At that time, everybody that I knew wanted to live in Ghana.
Okay.
No, I didn't know, the business of young people thinking that the only way they would survive was to go outside.
Greener pastures, yeah. No.
That wasn't it. I mean, I remember, for example, 1971, I'd gone to the States to study, coming back, and I met a number of Ghanaians who at the universities, people who finished their PhD or finishing their masters and stuff like that. The day you finish writing your exams, that day you are calling the travel agent to book your ticket, to come and pack your stuff. Nobody. That was what we did. You went out and you came home. You went out and you came home. That was it. It was only in the middle 70s when the economy collapsed, literally, and that this business of everybody wanting to leave Ghana started. Up until then, you went out.
And you came back home.
You did what you had to do, and you came back home. So, that was it.
That was it. Well, interesting, and we would like for you to also join us. WhatsApp line is 0262-518-268. 0262-518-268. You can also join us on Facebook, Starr103.5 FM, and also you can tweet. The handle is at Starr103.5 FM. Oh, and a little message. This one says, Bola, can you please find out from her, is that the smoking still exists in the media? Okay, no. So you want to know whether it does exist, and that's from Kuma. That's Kumi Daniel in Tema.
I don't think so.
When
it's against the law now, isn't it? You can't smoke in an office,
public place. Yeah,
public. You can't. Never mind in an office. No, I don't. And I don't think in Ghana, I haven't even met any journalist these days that even smokes, even in private.
Okay.
I must say, no, that stopped. Even when I joined the BBC to start with, they were smoking in the office, in the newsroom. Yeah.
In the BBC, in the newsroom.
Yeah. When I joined.
How will you take it? I mean, just backtrack a little bit. That you were the news editor of a media.
Editor.
No, I mean just now. I'm saying that you are the news editor of a radio station or a television. People smoke in the newsroom. Will you take offense to that? I mean, it used to happen back then. You didn't have any problem. You didn't do it. But now, would it be out of place for people to do that?
Obviously. I mean, even then, it's not that. If you say I didn't take off, I didn't like it. Mm-hmm. But that's what happened. So you tolerated it.
Right.
That was it, yeah.
All right. Well, tell me, what is your biggest fear in life?
Fear? Fear.
If you do have any, yes.
Fear? I don't know. I don't think I fear. No,
you're not afraid of anything, though, yeah.
Come to think of it, I don't know. I don't know.
I
I couldn't tell. Maybe I'm just trying to think.
I love you for that. I mean, you're courageous. You don't have any fear. Oh?
I'm just, maybe it's just not something that I've spent time on. I haven't thought, what is it that I'm afraid of? Or what's my greatest fear?
Never thought about that.
No.
Interested. Well, I have a surprise for you. I have a senior communications advisor and head of communications at the presidency and a colleague of yours, Ben Doche Malo, is on the line to celebrate you as well. Good evening, Uncle Ben, and how are you doing?
Good evening. I shudder a little bit when I hear myself being called Uncle by you.
Uncle, no problem. Permit me. I'll still call you uncle. You're a senior colleague and you're a big brother. You're an uncle, so why not? We are glad to have you here on Starr103.5 FM, and we're celebrating a very good friend of yours. Elizabeth Ohene is right here on the Starr Chat. Ben, what can you tell us about this sweet lady we have in our studios?
Thankfully, I will not call Elizabeth an auntie. She's a big sister. She's an institution. She's someone you admire. Even when she attacks you sometimes, you know there is friendly fire. And I'm delighted this evening to be discovering some very strong common points. I attended Maoli School for sixth form. In actual fact, my English speaking became better in Maoli School because the Accra folks did not impose Ghana so much. So Elizabeth is an institution, a great woman that we must celebrate, and I'm glad you are putting her on air tonight. Maybe she needs to write her memoirs. I'm glad to hear about her grandmother, the feistiness. She's a feisty sister. And when I grow old, I would like to write like she does.
Wow. Thank you very much for celebrating Elizabeth with us here on Starr FM. Ben Doche Malo, many thanks, sir. for your time.
Many thanks. And I wish you, Elizabeth, I wish you all the great things you desire. You have a lot more in you that we need to learn from. So God bless you. I wish you joy.
Thank you very much, Ben. Thank you.
Thank you. Isn't that striking? And that's a great one. And coming from a colleague to you, and we wish you the very best. Tonight, that's why we're inducting you into the Starr Hall of Fame. And many would like to know, lots of messages coming in at this point. Somebody wants to know about your family. You're married, you have kids. Let's get to meet your family, Elizabeth.
I'm married to Professor G.K. Ofuswama, who we have a son who is he lives in the States. He's married. He's got 2 children. What else do you want to know?
I want to know everything. Your favorite food. I mean, and also if you're a good cook. Somebody wants to find out. I mean, your first kiss, but I'll skip that. Don't worry.
First kiss.
Yes.
It wasn't that interesting.
It wasn't.
No.
Was it with Prof?
Nah. No.
No.
It wasn't.
Why?
Believe me.
Why didn't you find it interesting?
Believe me, you can't forget about it. There was absolutely nothing interesting about it.
Your first kiss. You're how old? You remember?
The first kiss that I had that I was participated in, I think I was 15. But
that early?
Yeah.
But the first one that you didn't...
That people were trying to... Nah, forget it. You don't. It's not worth talking about.
Is the gentleman still alive?
I'm sure.
You sure?
I don't know.
All right. Well, somebody says, can she describe that for us? Interesting. There's nothing to describe, and that's what she's saying.
It was very, very uninteresting.
Very, very uninterested.
And I have a daughter.
Okay, you have
a daughter. I haven't told you about my daughter.
Yes,
I have a daughter. Also, she lives in London.
Okay.
Also, married. So that's it.
Life as a grandma. How is it? How you go? I mean, you're making time for them now, right? You travel to.
Well, you live in Ghana, and your grandchildren are in America. It's long distance. You are a Skype grandmother.
How does that work? You get on Skype and the kids, they say, hello, grandma, in the chat.
That's it.
How's that working for you? Is that good? You wish you were there sometime, right?
I'm there sometime. Oh, I'm there. No, don't worry, I'm there.
You're there
when I need to be.
Okay.
When it's convenient, I'm there. But it's not the same as being
right
able
there
to
with them,
babysit for them.
And you miss that a lot. I can tell from your face. I mean, what kind of wife are you? Married to Professor G.K. Yes, woman. Ofuswama, yes. What kind of wife are you? Are you cool? Are you submissive? Because somebody says she's a strong woman. Many actually will take that for arrogance. And I beg to differ. I mean, getting to know her, she's a sweet woman. I mean, down to earth, she's cool. But maybe you don't want to get onto, the bad side of Elizabeth Ohene. But tell me, what kind of wife are you?
I don't think a wife is a definition. It's a...
Maybe you come with some qualities and they want to know, because somebody says, okay, so why is she not using the husband's name? I don't think that way. Why? Maybe you want to tell us why.
I don't know.
Because Elizabeth Ohene was a brand. You didn't want to dilute that, I guess. Oh?
I don't know. I mean, it's not a big deal.
A big deal. Your husband probably didn't have any issues with it.
No, he doesn't have any issues.
Mrs. Ofuswama, you didn't know? Not at all. It didn't come up?
No.
Wow.
He's fine. He spent a lifetime encouraging girls in the law school. Wow. And he's famous for that. So then...
Not for a woman to come and pick his name and say, well...
If somebody wants to call me Mrs. Ofuswama, they are fine. I don't care.
Okay.
I don't mind. But it's not, as far as I'm concerned, it's not, it doesn't make any particular
I've discussed this on my
statement.
show. It came up with a young television female presenter who recently got married, and the husband says, well, I want you to, take on my surname. And she's saying, well, I've built a brand, I'm an institution, and I want to keep my maiden name. And it became a very big issue.
With the husband.
But you've done that so perfectly, I mean. Didn't have any issues.
you should find somebody like my husband.
We all would like to know, how did you land that great job at the BBC, Madam Ohene? Tell us the story.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I left this country in the middle of January 1982 in something of a hurry, which is a different story. And with my son, who was then about 8 years old, I think it was the day after his 9th birthday.
Wow.
We left. I was going
for, or you didn't know where you were going? You had to flee the country, or what?
Yeah, I left in a bit of a hurry. So we ended up in Holland.
Okay.
But luckily, I had been invited before all the uproar.
Okay.
I had been invited to Radio Netherlands to come and present a paper at a seminar. So I had a ticket. So when the uproar came, all I had to do was to find something for my son. Anyway, so we got there. But I have my sister who comes directly after me, lives in France with her husband and children. At the time, she had 2 children, I think. Anyway, so I took my son to France and went and left him with my sister. And I ended up eventually in London. And I was a very angry woman. And 2 friends of mine who used to work at the Graphic with me, Mr. Ben Mensah, and now sadly the late Mr. Kofi Akumenyi, they were also chased out of the Graphic, and they arrived in London, and we wondered what we were going to do, and we did this, and we started a news magazine called...
In London?
Yeah. Oh. A weekly news magazine called Talking Drums. You should find old copies and read. And we did Talking Drums for...
That was in 86.
Yeah, we started it in 83.
83?
Yeah, I left Ghana in 82, January.
Okay.
We started Talking Drums in 83. 84, 85, 86. I begged, I borrowed, I stole.
You stole?
Well, to be
Virtually, from where?
From everywhere. To be able to fund
your publications?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was... How are we going to do it? We had to find money.
You stole from where? I'm interested in that story, but I have
what do you mean?
Renowned media personality and the CEO of Telecom Chamber, Kweku Sechiado, joining us on the line. Kweku, good evening. Kweku is off our line. We'll try and raise him back on the line. But yes, interesting story.
I'm just saying I beg, steal, or borrow. That's it. That's it. I found money from it. We found money from everywhere.
Just to survive.
Yeah, and finally, it was a very angry paper, which we published for 3 years, a weekly news magazine. And it collapsed finally in the middle of 86. So I'm home and the BBC calls me and says, "What you doing these days?" And I said, "I'm trying to recover from the collapse of my magazine." And they said, "Why don't you come and recover
working with us?" So they called you. You didn't go job hunting or seeking for a job. They called you to come.
Yeah. Wow. Don't make it sound as if it's
you're special.
That dramatic. It was. There was absolutely nothing dramatic about it. They, when I was doing Talking Drums, they knew me. I used to come and do stuff with them or for them regularly, so they knew me. And anyway, so they called me, and indeed, what they wanted me to do in those days was they used to have a session in Focus on Africa called Review of the African Press.
Okay.
So that's what they wanted me to do.
Right. Kweku Sechiado is back on the line, and Kweku, good evening.
Hi, good evening, Bola.
Many thanks for joining us, and we're celebrating an icon. We're celebrating one wonderful woman right here, and I know she means a lot to you as well, Kweku. This evening, Elizabeth Ohene is with us, and some few words from you, Kweku.
Well, first of all, I was actually enjoying the story she was telling. So I'm sorry I'm sorry, I had to intrude. I'm sorry about having to intrude. But let me say this. Elizabeth Ohene is one of my favorite human beings. And is one of the, on her seemingly narrow shoulders, people like myself and many others, I believe, in journalism and outside of journalism, have stood to become what we are today. And I recommend to everyone listening, and Elizabeth, could you please tell us where people can find copies of the 2 publications you put together a few years ago, which I had the great honor to do the review for at the launch. These are the collections of your columns and I think editorial. And let me say this. When Elizabeth, and she may have told this story on the program already because I tuned in after it began, when she became the editor of the graphic, the morning after, the military leaders were shot and killed. This is after a big tussle between her and the government. And she, so she gets the job. The first day, these leaders, Free Fire and so on, are shot and killed. And she writes an editorial criticizing the government and calling on Ghanaians to not get swept by the fervor and emotionalism that was going on, and to remember that in the future, a few years down the line, things as they seemed at the time will look completely different, and we will regret what we've done. She had the courage and the boldness at the time, not working for some private media organization, but working for the state-owned Daily Graphic, to a position she'd been appointed by the government, and her appointment is greeted with executions, and she has the courage to stand up to the government. I mean, as we say in P, akomko, ato, and yet prepragro, ato, ato prepragro, ato, and it's not, we just,
I know you're overwhelmed. I mean, it's like
Ben Duche said. It's wonderful to have somebody like Elizabeth still alive to tell her story. These are the Yasantuas. There's a living Yasantua, so to speak. Elizabeth is a living Yasantua, and I'm not going to wait till she dies before I say so.
You should see her in the studios. Aptly captured, Kweku.
He's my favorite man.
Oh,
he really is.
Kweku, you heard her. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you for being you. Thank you for being there, and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And that's what we need to do. Let's celebrate our people while they are alive. And what an account. And that's a good life, a life lived.
Don't worry. When I die, nobody is going to celebrate me.
We will celebrate you.
I have left strict instructions.
Really?
Oh, yes. I don't want anybody writing tribute.
Tribute? You don't want that?
No.
Why?
What for?
We need to know the story.
I'm dead.
Yes. Listen, we want you alive. We won't get into that until easy. We'll go there. And as we activate the phone lines, you can join us 0302 231144 or 0302 231145. And yes, a great guest we have in the studio. An institution, and I'll keep on saying this. Madam Elizabeth Ohene, interested, great guest right here on Starr FM. We want to know, how did you get into politics? That's a fine media personality, doing great at the BBC, making us all proud. I mean, you were there as a producer of radio programs at the BBC, and then you went on to become a presenter, senior producer on World Service and British Domestic Radio, researcher and columnist on Focus on Africa magazine. You're the deputy editor in the African Service for English daily programs. Wow. And in charge of operational budget. You were big. And then politics. Tell me about it. How did you receive the news?
Okay. Okay, no.
Were you called?
Did you? No.
A card-bearing member of the MPP?
No, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm.
When I told you that when I left Ghana, I had never planned to live outside Ghana.
That's correct.
So when I left, I thought maybe 6 months and everything will settle down in Ghana and I'll be back. Excuse me. And I ended up 19 years outside Ghana. Now, I had always said when I left Ghana that I would come back when there was a return to constitutional rule. I had always said that. So, when there was a return to constitutional rule in 1993, I felt it was a pseudo return to constitutional rule. It's just that the military man had shed his khakis and was wearing a suit, and I was not totally convinced. So when it was 2000 and he was coming to the end of his mandatory 2 terms, it meant that he had to go. It meant that whoever was coming, it was going to be a true civilian. So I thought to myself, okay, so now you have no reason to stay home, to stay outside. So in 2000, I took unpaid leave from the BBC. I said, let me go home and see what happens. So I left. I came in July 2000, and I came and joined the then candidate Kufuor's campaign, and we campaigned, and he won the election.
Do you have a thing against Jerry John Rawlings?
Oh yes.
You are bitter.
Not bitter. Oh no.
You're not bitter.
No.
You have a thing against him?
I do. I tell you what. What I have against him is this: that the people of Ghana voted for the PNP government, Dr. Hila Leman, whom I did not support. This is a matter of public record. I didn't think he was doing very well at all. I kept saying it every day. I wrote, I criticized. Really? Oh yes, every day I did. But the people of Ghana had voted for him. He had a 4-year mandate. He had done 2 years and 3 months. And it was up to the people of Ghana at the end of the 4-year mandate to vote him out if they thought he wasn't doing well. It was not the business of Flight Lieutenant Jerry Rawlings or anybody for that matter to overthrow him. That is what I had against him.
We have a caller on the line and we'll come back. And also, we have a piece from you. I mean, it's on the relocation of the BBC from its original studios at Bush House, London, and you were invited as one of the pioneers when they did that. I have you on tape and I'll get to play that to you. Back memory lane. Yes, well, we have a caller on the line. Cantref from Teshi. Good evening, Cantref.
Good evening, Bolare.
And you're most welcome. Madam Elizabeth Ohene is with us. You're on air.
Thank you. Bola, I'm really riveted in your chat with Miss Elizabeth Ohene this evening. Such an angelic and articulate woman. I was privileged to read about Miss Elizabeth Ohene during my study at the University of Ghana. And to be very candid with you, Bola, I was pleasantly surprised about her credentials to the extent that she worked with the BBC as a producer of radio programs, then successively became a presenter, where she invariably reported for the BBC from various parts of Africa. Bola, what fascinates me about her achievement the most is the fact that she was the resident correspondent for the BBC in South Africa during the transition from apartheid, and we'll love her to share her experience during the transition.
Well said. Thank you very much, Cantref. And Neil from Lakeside. Niels, how are you doing? Good evening, Niels. Welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. All right, you're on air.
Bola.
Yes, Niels.
Let me congratulate my grandma. Say, Ma, we thank you for all the things you've done for us. And one of her.
Hello? Hello, Niels. Are you there? Hello? Hello, Niels. Well, line is terrible there, but I'm afraid I have to take you off, but kindly call back. But here's Madame Ohene, and yes.
It has the dubious distinction of being the most expensive building in the world at £2 million sterling or $10 million as the exchange rate then was. You were within walking distance of Covent Garden and the most interesting shopping and restaurant zone in central London. I can't remember the number of times I ended up in the theatre watching a show simply because I was on my way home from work and noticed I could get a cheap ticket at the last minute as I walked by one of the most famous theatres. It's of course the stories I worked on and was part of, and the people I worked with that will stay with me to my dying day. Robin White and Chris Biggerton became household names around Africa, and our programs became obligatory listening for rulers and ordinary citizens. It was invigorating to be in an atmosphere of people who genuinely liked Africa. What can ever challenge our coverage of the day Nelson Mandela was released from jail, or the day our young stringer telephoned from Abuja to say the Nigerian military dictator Sani Abacha had died? I will remember my travels around the continent and sending reports to Bush House, and I'll remember even more acutely the network of stringers around the continent. You know, some people insist Bush House is a haunted building, and we must keep some of its secrets. This is Elizabeth Ohene reporting for the very last time to the Bush House, London.
Powerful.
Somebody said something I should say. You know, you asked me about nicknames.
That's right.
But I didn't have a nickname in school. But I did have a nickname.
At the BBC?
No, actually at the Graphic.
Okay, they called you?
Grandma. No, seriously.
Okay.
Because I started writing a column for the Mirror when I was 22 called Chat with Grandma. And so, to this day,
they call it Grandma.
People it was called Grandma long before I ever had a child. Never mind having becoming a grandmother. So if you are looking for a nickname, that's one.
Grandma.
Yeah.
I love that. Grandma, how did you feel? That was you right on tape.
Okay.
Saying goodbye to Bush House.
Yeah.
How did you feel on that day?
Actually, as it happened, you know, that is a piece I did from California, actually.
Oh.
The day they were moving out of Bush House, they called me. I was in California with my son and his family. And they wanted me to do a piece for their last thing. And I wrote one.
That was a take?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Great one. And it's time for us to induct you into the Starr Hall of Fame. And what can we say? Indeed, you're a woman of substance. We celebrate you. And we're so proud of you.
I am a
true daughter of Ghana, of course, of Africa.
In the jungle. I am a margin.
From whole going to the world.
Abutia.
Abutia. I love that
Not
village.
Yeah,
Abutia. You love your village. So it's time for us. But before we do that, tell me, what's your favorite dish? Maybe one of these days I'll take you out for lunch, or you will prepare something and I'll come home. What's
boring.
it?
Boring.
Why?
I don't know. I like, what's my favorite dish?
Yes.
Yam.
Yam is not boring. It's cool.
It's boring. and contomere.
And contomere. They call it palava sauce.
Whatever.
Don't mind them. So this evening, we would like to say congratulations to you. We're so proud of you, Madam Elizabeth Ohene, and of course, member of International Women Media Foundation. And you're out there, you know, promoting women's competency and leadership in the media. We salute you this evening. You've been a member of the CNN Africa Journalist of the Year competition. Since 1997, being a Minister of State, government spokesperson, and a true woman. Grandma, this evening we say Ayiko to you and more.
Thank you very
Starr 103.5 FM.
So this evening, we say thank you and congratulations. Next year, when he turns 70, the big 70, we'll be there on the 24th of January celebrating with you. Grandma, thank you. And Ayiko, one more time.
Most welcome.
We're inspired
by
your story.
Me.
Many thanks for honoring our invitation. And we want for you to pass by one of these days in our newsroom to encourage all of us as you talk to us for an hour. We'll be most grateful and highly honored. Thank you, Auntie Lizzie.
You don't want to hear me for another hour.
Thank you and God bless you.
You're welcome.
Great. That's Madam Elizabeth Ohene, also known as Grandma, right there, talking to us. Ghana salutes you. Thank you all there for doing the listening to my production team. Kathy Sechi, Pakwesi Asari, the man on the beat. I say thank you to Seth Owari, to Festus, to Amarcelo, man. My name is Kwabena Noche. This is Bolare, saying God bless us all.